Did you know there is a secret nerve inside your body that holds the power to change not only your health, but also your very connection to spirit? Most people go through their entire lives without ever hearing its name, let alone realizing what it can do. We live in an age of information, yet this ancient knowledge has been forgotten, buried under stress, noise, and distraction. But the truth is still here, pulsing quietly inside you. This nerve is not just biology. It is a bridge between your body and your soul, a hidden channel that decides whether you live in constant tension or step into peace. In this journey, we'll explore what the ancients knew, long before science confirmed it. We'll uncover how a single thread, called the vagus nerve, connects breath, sound, and touch into a pathway of awakening. By the end, you'll see that this isn't theory. It's a living portal already inside you, waiting to be remembered. When you look at your body in the mirror, you might see skin, bones, muscles, and organs. Science tells us that's all we are. Cells firing, blood pumping, chemistry unfolding. But to the ancients, the body was never just a machine. They saw it as a temple living, breathing, and vibrating with the same rhythm as the universe itself. To step into your own body was to step into a sanctuary, a sacred ground where the invisible world touched the visible. Think of the Egyptians. For them, the great Nile that wound through their land was only a reflection of the hidden Nile within. They believed that deep inside the human form, there was a river of consciousness, flowing silently but constantly, rising from the depths of the belly and coiling upward like a serpent toward the crown of the head. This wasn't just poetry, it was a map of how energy moved through the body, carrying not water, but awareness. In India, they called it prana, the breath of life. It wasn't air, but the subtle force behind the air, the living current that animates every gesture and thought. The yogis said that prana traveled through channels, awakening centers along the spine, until it reached the mind and burst into light. In China, the sages spoke of the central meridian, a line of energy threading the body from top to bottom, the axis that holds us between heaven and earth. They taught that when this channel was open, life unfolded in balance. When it was blocked, suffering took root. Different names, different cultures, and yet the same truth whispered across continents and centuries. The body is a bridge, not an obstacle, not a prison, but a bridge between what we can see and what we cannot. Picture it, a golden thread, delicate but unbreakable, running through you. It connects the beat of your heart to the depth of your breath, the spark of your thought to the weight of your flesh. Sometimes it pulses quietly in the background, unnoticed. Sometimes it surges forward, a serpent of fire rising from within, shaking loose old burdens, purifying the mind, setting the spirit free. Science today is only beginning to glimpse this. With MRI machines and electrodes, we can measure currents, track impulses, watch neurons light up like cities at night. But that's only the surface, the outer shadow of what the ancients perceived with nothing but intuition, silence, and presence. They didn't need machines. They could feel the invisible. They could listen to the river inside. And here is the truth. They left carved in stone, zong in chants, passed down in whispers. Your body is not a pile of parts. It is a circuit more sophisticated than the stars. It is a temple. Every sensation is a message. Every heartbeat is an offering. Every breath is a doorway. Most of us today forget this. We treat the body as something to push, to fix, to decorate, to criticize. We miss the sacredness of it, and in that forgetting, we lose touch with the bridge itself. We start to live only on the surface, ignoring the river of consciousness flowing beneath. But when you remember, when you pause long enough to feel the pulse beneath your skin, the quiet intelligence humming in your chest, you begin to understand why the ancients spoke of serpent fire and golden paths. They weren't inventing myths. They were describing reality, a reality that you and I can experience the moment we pay attention. So as you sit here, listening to these words, imagine it for yourself. Your body as a vast temple, each breath echoing through its halls, each thought lighting a torch along its corridors. The river within you still flows, the golden thread still connects, the serpent still waits to rise. And this is why the body matters, because to know your body as a living temple is to stand at the threshold of something greater, the hidden current that ties your health, your mind, and your spirit into one. Inside your body, there is a traveler. You cannot see it, yet it roams farther than any other pathway within you. Doctors gave it a cold, clinical name, the vagus nerve, but the name itself betrays its mystery. Vagus comes from the Latin word for wanderer, and that's exactly what it is. The silent traveler that journeys through almost every corner of your inner world. It begins at the base of your brain, right where thought gives birth to action. From there, it winds its way down through the throat, brushing past the larynx, where your voice vibrates into the world. It touches the heart, steadying or unsettling your rhythm, depending on what it hears. It dives into the lungs, whispering to every breath. It circles the liver, rests on the stomach, and plunges deep into the intestines. No other nerve in the human body wanders this far, connects this much, or influences this many systems at once. But this is not just anatomy. This is the very architecture of how you live, because the vagus nerve is more than a collection of fibers. It is a gatekeeper. It decides whether your body rests in calm or braces for war, whether your digestion flows smoothly or grinds to a halt, whether your breathing deepens and nourishes or grows shallow and anxious. It even shapes whether you can laugh freely, sleep soundly, make love fully, or spend your life stuck in survival mode. Think of it like a switch. When it is balanced, you feel peace settle into your bones, your heart rate slows, your breath finds rhythm, your mind softens. You are at home in yourself. But when the vagus nerve locks down, when stress, fear, or trauma force it into defense, everything changes. The body pulls its emergency brake. Digestion falters. Sleep escapes. Inflammation spreads. Energy drains. And slowly, the soul itself seems to retreat. Many people today live unknowingly in this state, as if permanently bracing for impact, their nervous systems locked in survival, their bodies slowly unraveling under the weight of constant alertness. And they wonder why they cannot rest, why they cannot heal, why they feel cut off from joy. This is why neuroscientists in recent years have turned their gaze toward the vagus nerve. They've discovered that when it is stimulated properly, a cascade of healing unfolds. Heart rhythms stabilize, immune function strengthens, inflammation decreases. The brain releases a symphony of neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin that lift mood, calm, fear, and awaken connection. In short, when the vagus nerve is in harmony, so are you. And yet, if you listen closely, you'll realize that the ancients were already speaking about this long before science gave it a name. They didn't talk about cranial nerves or parasympathetic systems. They spoke of golden threads, serpent fires, inner rivers. They described exactly what modern medicine is only beginning to confirm, that there is a backbone of spirit running through the body, invisible but undeniable, a channel that holds the balance of life itself. The vagus nerve is that channel, the silent traveler that ties together instinct and intuition, body and soul. And the most astonishing part is this: it does not act alone. It responds to you, to the way you breathe, to the sounds you make, to the touch you allow. It listens constantly, waiting for the moment you signal that the war is over, that it is safe to return to peace. This is why remembering the vagus nerve is more than science. It is remembrance of an ancient truth, a truth that the body is not separate from the spirit, that your health is not separate from your soul, that the same wandering nerve that touches your heart and lungs and stomach also carries the echoes of presence, of safety, of love. So the question becomes, how do we awaken this silent traveler? How do we invite it back from its locked state into flow, into harmony? The answer begins not in textbooks, but in experience, in the way you breathe, the way you sound, the way you touch your own body, with awareness. Those are the keys that turn the lock. The ancients called it the spiritual backbone, the thread that held the temple of the body upright. Modern science calls it the vagus nerve, but in truth, they are speaking of the same wonder, the hidden traveler that carries life, energy, and spirit through every part of who you are. Every journey of healing begins with something so simple, we often overlook it: the breath. We take more than 20,000 breaths a day. Yet how many of those actually reach us? Truly reach us, not just as air, but as presence. Most of the time, we breathe shallow, up in the chest, quick and tight, as if we're always running late for life. The body interprets this as an alarm. Shallow breath tells your nervous system, danger, stay alert, brace yourself, and slowly, without realizing it, you live in a permanent state of quiet emergency. Your heart beats faster, your digestion slows, your muscles hold tension, as if waiting for a blow that never comes. But when the breath drops lower into the belly, slow and steady, something profound happens. The body hears a different message. It hears, we are safe now. The shoulders relax, the stomach softens, the mind loosens its grip. This is not just oxygen filling your lungs, it is a signal, a code, sent directly to the vagus nerve, the silent traveler we just met. And when it receives that signal, the system reorganizes itself. Science now calls this parasympathetic activation. The ancients had another name, the breath of life. Hermetic alchemists described it as the bridge between worlds, the single act that unites matter with spirit, time with eternity, the body with the soul. To them, conscious breathing wasn't just a technique, it was a ritual, a doorway, the very first step in the work of inner transformation. If you've ever tried it, you may already know what I mean. Maybe you were meditating, maybe you were simply catching your breath after tears, and suddenly you felt a wave of release wash through you, a lightness, almost like trembling inside. Listeners of this channel have written about it. My body shook uncontrollably, or I felt warmth and peace spreading through my chest. That isn't weakness. That's the body responding to the message of safety. That's the vagus nerve awakening, opening the door for healing. Let's pause right now. Place one hand gently on your belly. Inhale slowly through your nose. Let the air sink down, past your chest, into the depth of your abdomen. Feel your hand rise. Hold it there, softly, for a moment, and then exhale through your mouth, as if releasing something heavy you no longer need to carry. Do it once. Do it twice. Notice the shift. This is not imagination. This is physiology meeting spirit. With each deep abdominal breath, you're telling the vagus nerve, stand down. The war is over, and it listens. Your heart rate steadies. Your chest expands effortlessly. Your thoughts lose their sharp edges. A space opens up inside you that feels like silence, but it's not empty. It's full of presence. In ancient Egypt, initiates were trained to breathe rhythmically for hours as part of their rites of transmutation. In India, yogis synchronized breath with movement and mantra to ignite prana, the life force. In Hermetic writings, the breath is described as the first operation of alchemy, the foundation of the great work. They all knew what we are only rediscovering. Air is not just air, it is information, it is code, it carries the message of life itself. And so the first portal is always the breath. It may feel ordinary, but when you bring awareness to it, it becomes extraordinary. This portal doesn't require belief, doctrine, or even understanding. It only requires presence, because the breath never left you. It has been waiting all along, waiting for you to notice, to step across the threshold into safety, into healing. So whenever the world shouts, whenever the mind races, remember, the body whispers, and what it whispers is simple. Stop, listen, breathe. That is how the journey begins. If breath is the first doorway, then sound is the second. Breath calms the body, but sound awakens it. When air leaves your lungs and passes through your throat, it becomes vibration. And vibration, whether you realize it or not, is the language your body understands best. Modern science has a name for this too. The vagus nerve, the wandering traveler we spoke about earlier, runs through the larynx and senses the vibration of your voice. When you hum, chant, or even sigh with intention, those vibrations echo through your throat and send a direct signal inward. You are here, you are safe, you are returning to yourself. But the ancients didn't need microphones or lab studies to discover this. They knew, through centuries of observation, that sound reshapes the body. Egyptian priests used chants inside stone temples, their voices bouncing off the walls like waves that realigned the soul. Yogis in India developed mantras, not as magical spells, but as code-specific frequencies designed to reorganize the inner field. Chinese sages listened to how each vowel touched a different organ, using tones to heal and balance. Across cultures, one truth echoed: sound doesn't just express, sound creates. Think of water. Over 70% of your body is made of it, and water, more than anything, responds to vibration. Scientists have shown how sound waves can change the structure of water, forming intricate patterns or chaotic fragments, depending on the frequency. When you speak, chant, or even cry, you are sending ripples into your own waters. You are shaping the hidden rivers within. Many of you have felt this already. Some of you wrote in the comments, "I felt shivers, energy, shooting up my spine like lightning, or my ears ring at random, and I wonder what it means." These are not accidents. They are signals, the ringing in the ears, the sudden shiver, the tremor in your chest. They are signs that your nervous system is listening to vibration. The vagus nerve is being stirred, the body is reorganizing itself from the inside out. And then there is crying. How often have we been told that tears are weakness, something to hide? Yet listen carefully. Crying is one of the oldest, most primal sounds. Your body knows. It's not just emotion spilling out, it's technology. When you surrender to tears, your voice cracks, your breath breaks, your body shakes, and in that surrender, the vagus nerve is intensely stimulated. It understands. A burden has been lifted. The body exhales centuries of tension in a single wave of sobs. This is why, in ancient initiations, crying wasn't shamed. It was welcomed. It meant the walls were crumbling, that truth was entering, that the soul was speaking again. To vibrate with tears was to vibrate with honesty, and when honesty flows, healing begins. You don't need to sing beautifully for this to work. You don't need perfect pitch or memorized mantras. All that's required is authenticity, a hum that comes from your chest, a tone you hold while breathing deeply. Even a whisper of sound, when carried with intention, reorganizes the waters within you. It tells the vagus nerve, return to harmony. The ancients spoke of this with reverence. Thoth, the keeper of wisdom, taught that the voice is not merely a tool for speaking, it is the instrument of creation itself. To vibrate, he said, is to create. Every word you utter carries more than meaning. It carries frequency, it carries intention, and that intention condenses into form. So imagine this, your body as an acoustic sanctuary, every sound you make, reverberating through its chambers. When you hum softly, when you chant a word of power, when you let tears fall and break your voice, you are tuning your temple. You are shaping reality within your skin. And perhaps the most powerful part is that you can try it right now. Inhale deeply, then hum as you exhale, letting the sound linger in your throat. Feel the vibrations spread through your chest, your belly, your spine. Don't worry about the note. Just feel that vibration is not leaving you. It is entering you, awakening you, reorganizing you. This is the forgotten key. Breath silences, sound reveals. Breath steadies the foundation. Sound builds the resonance. Together they open the first portals to inner healing. And once you've experienced it, even for a moment, you realize you are not powerless. You carry the instrument of healing in your very own voice. We've spoken about breath as the first key and sound as the second, but there is a third, quieter key, one you've known since the day you were born. It is touch. Think about it before you even had words, before you could understand meaning. Touch was the language your body knew. A mother's hand on the back of a newborn child calms the heart more quickly than any medicine. A gentle stroke across the cheek can say, "You are safe," more powerfully than 1,000 speeches. We are wired to respond to touch, not because of sentiment, but because of the nervous system itself, behind your ear, along the side of your neck, and even in the softness of your earlobes. lies one of the most overlooked gateways to healing. This is where the vagus nerve comes close to the surface, where a simple, mindful touch can send ripples through your entire system. Ancient traditions knew this long before textbooks confirmed it. They called it the living touch, not mechanical, not forceful, but conscious. When you press too hard, the body resists, but when you touch lightly, with presence, with reverence, something extraordinary happens. The body listens. The vagus nerve, attuned to subtlety, responds not to effort, but to awareness. A gentle fingertip at the base of the skull, a soft massage along the neck, even a mindful hand resting against your throat. These are not just gestures, they are conversations. Conversations between your consciousness and the silent traveler within. Modern therapies echo this wisdom. Craniosacral therapy, for example, works with delicate pressure around the skull and spine to encourage the body to release old patterns. Neuroscience now recognizes that such gentle stimulation can shift the parasympathetic system, leading to lower stress hormones, improved digestion, deeper rest. In simpler words, the body feels permission to heal. And maybe you've noticed this in your own life. A hand placed over your heart when you're anxious, rubbing the back of your neck after a long day, stroking your temples when you can't sleep. These aren't random habits, they're instincts, echoes of an ancient knowledge your body has never forgotten. Now imagine combining them with the other portals we've explored. Breath slowing the body, sound resonating through the chest, and then touch conscious, gentle uniting with the two. Breath, sound, touch. 3 simple keys, 3 ancient practices, 3 signals to the vagus nerve that the time for defense is over and the time for restoration has begun. For some of you, when you try this, warmth may rise in your chest, your jaw may loosen, your shoulders may drop, you may feel tears well without reason, or laughter bubble up unexpectedly. Don't be alarmed. This is not weakness, and it is not random. This is your body reorganizing. This is healing. The ancients called the body a sacred temple, and touch was never meant to be a careless intrusion. It was meant as an offering, a prayer made with hands. To touch with awareness is to remind the body that it is sacred, that it is seen, that it is safe. So take a moment now. If you wish, lift your hand gently to the back of your neck, or to the curve just below your ear. Rest your fingers there. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly, maybe hum softly. As the air leaves you, feel how the vibration of your voice meets the softness of your touch. That convergence, that harmony, is where energy begins to balance again. This is what the ancients meant when they said everything vibrates. Breath vibrates, sound vibrates, touch vibrates, and when those vibrations are carried with intention, they transform, they awaken, they heal. There comes a moment, if you truly allow the body to breathe, to sound, and to be touched with awareness, when something unexpected begins to stir. At first it might feel like a subtle pulse in your hands or a quiver in your chest. Then it grows your arms, your legs, your spine may begin to tremble. Some describe it as electricity running beneath the skin, others as waves of light flickering behind closed eyes. A few even see visions, patterns, symbols, or memories they can't explain. For many, this can be startling. The body, after all, isn't supposed to shake without reason. But here's what science tells us. This trembling is not danger, it is release. Neuroscientists call it an autonomic reset. The nervous system, long held in a state of tension, finally lets go. It is the body's way of discharging old burdens, of reorganizing itself at the deepest level. One listener once wrote, "My body shook uncontrollably for 2 to 3 minutes when I began meditating. At first they were afraid, but afterward they felt lighter, freer, more alive than ever before." That's the reset. It is the nervous system unclenching after years, maybe decades, of holding on. The ancients had another word for this stage. In Hermetic alchemy, it was known as rubedo, the reddening, the crossing. It was the point in the process where impurities burned away, where the structure of the old self cracked open to reveal something truer, purer, more essential. They described it not as breakdown, but as breakthrough, not as chaos, but as passage. So when your body trembles, when your voice breaks into tears, when laughter and crying arrive together with no logic, you are not losing control. You are crossing. You are stepping onto what Thoth called the golden path. This golden path is the meeting place of heaven and earth inside you. It is the line where matter and spirit touch, where the density of flesh becomes translucent enough for the light of the soul to shine through. The trembling is simply the door swinging open. The visions that sometimes follow images from dreams, fragments of sound, even whispers you cannot place, are echoes from that deeper room. If this has happened to you, know that you are not alone. Many people feel electricity moving up the spine, pressure at the crown, or a second heartbeat pulsing in the chest. Science might call these neural discharges or shifts in cardiac coherence. The ancients would say the serpent fire is rising, the soul is speaking, the temple is awakening. Both perspectives point to the same reality. The body is reorganizing itself into harmony. The important thing to remember is that this is not something to fear. The trembling is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is your body doing what your mind could never plan, letting go of patterns too heavy to carry any longer. The mystery of it, the strangeness of it, is part of the gift. And once the trembling subsides, silence follows. But this silence isn't empty. It is full of presence, full of clarity, full of a knowing that doesn't come from thought, but from recognition. In that silence, you glimpse the golden path itself, the sacred thread that connects your breath, your heart, your voice, your body, to the very fabric of the universe. This is the threshold of transformation, the reset, the rubedo, the golden path. Different names for the same passage. It is not the end of the journey, but the moment you realize the journey has always been within you. So, if your body trembles, if light dances behind your eyes, if your chest warms as though another heart is beating inside, welcome it. Don't resist. It is not abnormal. It is the portal, the ancient crossing that leads you back to yourself. The vagus nerve is not just a medical function, not just a bundle of fibers carrying signals. It is a bridge between body and spirit, between survival and peace, between who you were and who you can become. The ancients called it the rite of return. Modern science calls it nervous system regulation, but both are pointing to the same truth. This is the thread that reconnects you to your own temple. So if you've ever felt trembling in your body, light behind your eyes, or tears you couldn't explain, know this: you are not alone. These are not accidents. They are signs of awakening, signals that the portal within you has begun to open. The invitation is simple. Breathe with presence. Let sound move through you. Touch your body with reverence. These small acts are not small at all. They are the steps that carry you across the threshold. And as you do, remember, you are the temple. You are the bridge. You are the golden path. The door has always been here, waiting. All that's left now is to walk through it.